Okay, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's great. What movie was that? Hello, Holly and Kelly and Christina and Lois and Claudia. What movie was that right there? What is it? Does anybody know? Great movie. Love that movie. They have to turn it off though now. Anybody? Hi, Charlie. How are you tonight? Anybody know what that movie was? I will. Hello, Stormy. Hello, Stephanie. Stephanie, you missed the movie. Anthony's in here tonight. Great. What was the movie in the pre-show? For those of you who caught it. I'm doing good, man. Today was a busy day. Had a lot to get done today. By the way, I'm wearing an Unfound shirt. You see, it's Jesse Foster's shirt right there. So got getting some very nice comments on the shirts. People who have gotten them, people who have ordered them and bought them and had them shipped to them. Maybe you've seen some of those pictures posted online already. That the people who've bought them have been very pleased with the quality, with the art on the front and the back. So I'm very happy to hear that. I'm going to be shipping out shirts to many of the guests who have been on Unfound within the next week. So I'm excited about that. Holly says that she's seen the movie in the pre-show. I'm sorry for those of you who tuned in late. You didn't get to see it. But you've seen it but can't remember the name. Well, we're going to hold on to that for just a few minutes, Holly, and then I will type it out. I need to, Dee Dee, Stephanie, Kelly, good to see you. Anthony, Andrea, Angela, welcome everybody tonight. So happy that you can give me a little piece of your Wednesday evening, no matter where you are. I deeply appreciate it. But I was talking about the T-shirts. Some people have ordered them. I've been talking to them, make sure that they are very pleased with what they got, and they have been, which makes me very happy, because if you will remember about a month ago, I was a little worried about the quality of them, but so far the people who have gotten them have been very happy. If they're happy, I'm happy. James, I'm sorry you missed the film, but I'm going to type what it was here just in a few minutes. It's actually our second Keanu Reeves movie. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. You're Angela, you're in Orlando tonight instead of Virginia. Well, a little warmer over in Orlando. Although I have to admit, here in Tampa, it was just in the 60s today, so it wasn't crazy. It wasn't crazy warm. Holly Holly, you are exactly right. Holly answers the trivia question correctly. The pre-show movie tonight was Point Break. Yes. One of my favorite films from the early 90s. I remember it came out when I was in college. And it has one of my favorite songs from the band Rat in it called Nobody Rides for Free, which is a great tune that they play at the end of the movie. Love that film. The remake was horrible. The original with Keanu Reeves and the rest of the guys was great. It was a great movie, and I do watch it once in a while. But I had a hectic day putting together this week's program, the episode this Friday, the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. So I was working on that today. Went out and played a little disc golf, talked to some people on the phone today, and had a checkup on an order. I'm getting a new Mac laptop, so I'm going to be able to, Unfound's going to be a little bit more mobile now. I'm getting a Mac laptop where I can now edit and do recording and audio instead of having to lug around the Mac Mini and the keyboard and the video and the screen and everything else. I ordered a Mac laptop, and it's going to be here tomorrow, I guess. So I'm very excited about that. Who else is in here? James, Jackie, good to see you with the big heart. Glad you could make it. So I think the Mac laptop, I just got like the cheapest model, just as long as it has GarageBand on it and everything, then it'll be good. So that's what else is going on. So I had to straighten out the order on that today. So I got that. It also occurs to me that we're coming up maybe in another week to 10 days. The next Unfound newsletter will be going out, and I think we'll have some new things to talk about, maybe some old things, some new things to put into the newsletter for anybody that is on the email list. So all of you can be probably, I'm going to guess it's probably going to be more than a week. So I'll probably talk about it next Wednesday as well. So, and Angie, good to see you tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let me just do something here very quickly so I make sure I can see all of your comments here. Just hold on with me, bear with me for a few moments. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Sometimes some of your comments don't show up on the side of the screen that I'm looking at, so I want to make sure I don't miss anybody if they say something. So I need to open up this other screen. And so we got the hectic day, wearing my Unfound shirt, getting a new Mac laptop, another newsletter, and I'm starting work on volume 3 for the program. That'll be the next 6 cases, which actually starts the cases that started in 2017, starting with what was our first missing case for 2017. I'll have to look at that. What was it? It's the next 6 cases that will be in the next book will be, let me do here, Jeff Nichols, Rebecca Gary, James Walker, Teresa Butler, Charlotte Paulus, and Lola Catherine Fry. Those are going to be the next cases in the next book. So I'm very excited about getting started on that. What else is going on? You should also know, once again, this is why you tune in to hear things about this before anybody else does. We sent out our first message to somebody at SiriusXM today. And in fact, I sent an email out to all of the other hosts who are in this package. I'm going to just keep that to myself for now. So they all know what's going on. I'm keeping them updated as to everything that's going on. And our first kind of contact, trying to get them interested, trying to talk to them, that happened today. Hopefully we can make something happen. Kristen, I see you're in there. Good to see you. And Angie, thank you for what you do. You're welcome, Angie. My cousin. Oh, you're a cousin of Chip. Really? Okay, Angie, I didn't know that. Your cousin Chip Campbell missing 2-year anniversary is tomorrow. Thank you for reminding me. Kristen, you're writing books or book on your podcast? Kristen, what I do, you know, Volume 1 and Volume 2 are out so far on Amazon. What I do is I turn all the episodes into books in ebook or print form, and I do about 6 cases at a time. So Volume 1 came out in November. Volume 2 came out in February, and Volume 3, Kristen, will be coming out, I'm hoping, within the next couple weeks. And I just go through what each book contains are write-ups on the cases for that book, in addition to transcriptions of the interviews that I conducted, along with some maps and some more of my comments and things like that. You can find those books on Amazon, Kristen, if you'd like to check them out. But yes, I do. I plan to keep up on that, and eventually all of the cases that Unfound ever covers will be in book form too, not just in podcasts, but books as well. Christina says, after all the podcasts you've released, I find the Patrick Beaver case to be the most perplexing of all. It was actually the first program I watched of yours, and that one got me interested in this sort of thing. It's a complex case, Christina, no doubt about it. And eventually that case will make it into a book, but that's part of Season 2. Season 1's books will take me up through Jennifer Wilkerson's case, which was at the end of July of 2017. When do you think you'll be able to get to Brandy? Well, when we cover Brandy's case on an episode of Unfound, she will automatically, eventually, be included in a book, Kristen. So that's how that works. For me to do, the books that I do are all about the cases that Unfound covers. So maybe that's something that you and I should maybe talk about privately. Maybe we can make that happen. So that's a lot of things going on. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of things going on, a lot of good things. I'm keeping very busy, but at least I'm able to get in a little free time to play a little disc golf these days, get out and do a little physical activity. Just to get the business out of the way, had some very nice, very generous contributions on Patreon and PayPal over the last week. I cannot thank those people enough. You will hear their names, at least their first names, on Friday's episode. So Patreon can, like I said, you can get it at a variety of levels at PayPal or on Patreon. Anything is appreciated. Amazon, I just got through mentioning the books, volumes 1 and 2. The shirts, I've already mentioned those as well. Getting some very positive reviews about the shirts that people are getting. They're liking them. They look really good. They fit really well. The quality is very high. And the artwork on the front and the back is done very nicely. Those pictures are blowing up very nicely because that's what I have to do with them. They're coming out very nicely. And within the next 4 or 5 days, I'll be working on some new shirts to include the newest cases Unfound is done. And I'll be sending out free shirts to my guests. Stormy, can't remember where is Haas's case being featured in a book. I'm guessing there are going to be 6 volumes, I think, for season 1. I think he's going to be in volume 4 or 5. So we got a ways to go. I'm going to say either 5 or 6, actually. In fact, let me take a look. I can look at my case list and kind of eyeball it here for a moment. I'm going to say, Stormy, that Brandon's case is going to be, let me see here, 3. It's going to be volume 5, Stormy. I'm pretty sure it'll be volume 5. So we got a little ways to go. But it's going to happen. And you will, of course, get a free book when that happens. Angie, I appreciate it. If you want to check out the books, deeply appreciate it. And if you want to get a hardback copy with my signature in it, not a hardback copy, paperback, but like real paper, contact me and I can make that happen for you. And then the playing cards at makeplayingcards.com/sell/Unfound podcast. A lot of things going on. I just don't know how I keep up with all of it. Really, that's true. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, but a lot of things going on, a lot of balls in the air, and I try to juggle them. Hey, Greg, welcome tonight. Glad you could make it. Good to see you. And Lavonda and Jill, all great to see everybody in here tonight. Even if you've tuned in a little late, no big deal. You can catch, as you know, if you've missed, if you're just tuning in now, 15 minutes in, you know that before this night is out, I will have downloaded this video, posted it to YouTube, so you can watch it all of it at your leisure whenever you want. And speaking of which, I didn't get any questions before tonight's program. So if anybody wants to ask me any questions about, anything, Kristen, what are on the playing cards? Good question, Kristen. Maybe I should check that out. Tell all of you about it. Kristen, the first 52 cases that Unfound covered I put them into a playing card deck. So 52 cards, 52 cases. I think the last case, so it started with Suzanne Lau, which is the first case that Unfound ever did. And that 52 cases took me up through and including the disappearance of Clinton Nelson. Clinton Nelson was the last case that made it onto the first 50 onto that deck of cards. When I get to the next 52, whenever that is, I will turn out another deck of cards. So on the playing cards is the missing person's picture, their information, where they disappeared, their name, the date that they disappeared, and the phone number of the local police department that is responsible for that missing person's case. In addition, on the shirts, I've been talking about the shirts, same thing. On the back, you will see, like, Kristen, if you're looking at it now, you can see this one right now. This is Jessie Foster, who disappeared in Las Vegas. Her name is there, where she disappeared from, North Las Vegas, the date that it happened, and the phone number for the North Las Vegas Police Department. That's what's on the shirts. Of course, then the logo is on the front and a picture is on the back. And then also, for any of you, once again, Kristen is asking about this. Any of you, I also have what was called a first-year cases. All the first year from September of 2016 to July 2017. And that is it's a collage of pictures of everybody that was covered in the first year that Unfound existed. So that's from Suzanne Lau up to and including Jennifer Wilkerson. And then the second year of Unfound technically starts, this is just how I worked it out, with the disappearance of Kent Jacobs, which was that was a show that came out at the beginning of August of 2017. And Angie, the shirt looks awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's, Kristen, some of the things that I do. And for all of you, if you're new to the program, if you're new to true crime podcasting, I know that variety podcasts do their things a variety of different ways. My attitude is, if I am going to be selling anything with the Unfound logo on it, then I have a responsibility to also raise awareness about the cases that Unfound covers. So I don't sell shirts with just the Unfound logo on it. It's going to be the Unfound logo with somebody's picture on it. The phone numbers, a collage. The playing cards has the Unfound logo on it, but also including each of the cases that we've covered, all of it. That's the way it's always going to be, because that's just the way I think about it. That's just the way it is. So with the books, of course, all the information in those. The shirts, all the information contained on the back of the shirts. And then on the playing cards, same thing. And in fact, with the playing cards, once again, if I get the time, I want to kind of mix and match, like do missing persons cases that from a particular state, California. I've already done them for Texas or Pennsylvania or Florida, and mix those decks together, mix those cases together. So you have a Florida case deck. You have a California case deck. You have a Texas case deck. You have a Pennsylvania. So, hello, Diane. You're a little late to the party. Don't worry about it. You can catch it later in reruns. I'm just talking about some of the things that to maybe some new people, they don't exactly know. Some of the things that go on with Unfound, about the shirts, about the playing cards and other things. I'd had a few questions, but I never will market anything that doesn't have anything to do with a missing persons case. So even with the first year, the what I call the flagship shirt for Unfound has the logo on the front and a collage of everybody that we've covered in the first year. So you've got a bunch of pictures on the back of it. And some people have gotten this shirts. In fact, Andrea, who is in here, I know watching, posted a picture of herself wearing the collage shirt, and she really likes it. It really looks good. But it's a good conversation starter if you ever wear it somewhere. People see it, and what are all those pictures? And you can talk to people about missing persons cases. Say, there's an epidemic out there, missing people. And these are some of those people. And you can point, this is Suzanne Lau, this is Jessie Foster, this is Jennifer Wilkerson, this is Jeff Nichols on the shirt. And, that's how you raise awareness. And that's what I want to do. And so And it's all designed by me. Go figure. But let's move on to a little bit of news. I know Andrea had emailed me privately, and I thank her for doing this, but I guess there is something breaking in the Christina Morris case. This is a case out of Plano, Texas. She disappeared in 2014, and the guy who everybody believes is responsible for her disappearance is already in jail. So it's one of those very rare missing persons cases where somebody has been convicted without a body. And, of course, that brings right to mind my buddy Tad Tobias, the nobody guy. There were some remains found in a place called Anna, Texas, just like the woman's name, Anna, A-N-N-A, in a field, which is about 26 miles away from Plano, Texas. And keep in mind, I'm not an expert on this case. I'm just reading. I'm just going off some of the things that I've read. There was a crew clearing some land in Anna, Texas. I guess there's going to be an apartment complex, something like this, going in there. And this crew that was clearing the land found some remains. And the belief right at this second is that they are Christina Morris's. And the reason that this they think it is because Enrico Rocci is the guy who was convicted of kidnapping Christina and I guess murdering her, was in Anna, Texas that day. So this is a big break. This is a case, so like I said, Christina disappeared in 2014. And so we have at least, I guess, 3.5 years later, some remains have turned up. The belief that it's hers, but there's no 100%. I want to assure all of you, it's not 100% confirmed yet. All right, it's not. We're not to that point yet. This is just news, I think, that broke within the last 24 hours. But Enrique Rocci, R-O-C-H-I, was convicted. He's already in jail. But keep in mind, the reason they found these remains is not because he told them. These guys and women working this land, clearing it out, found the remains. You know, and that's what drives you nuts about a lot of these cases where people do end up in jail and they take their secrets about a murder or a missing persons case to their grave. It's disgusting. It really is really disgusting. But so that's what's going on in Christina Morris's case. And what's interesting is some searches, I'm guessing, at least I was reading this from the Dallas Morning News, I think is where I got my information from. Some searches were actually done near this piece of land. And it seems the searchers were very close to, if this once again is Christina, we're very close to finding these remains. But I think what it shows, if that is true, it just shows how hard it is to find a body and human remains. This is a topic that I hope to cover someday in a show or one of those special Monday shows that I just don't have the time to do right now. We overestimate, I think, how easy it is to find bodies in the woods, in some barren land somewhere. This is why when it comes back to the David Paulides thing about national parks and everything, people get the idea, I think, that, well, we'll just go out into the woods and we'll see if, they're wearing a red shirt and that red's going to really stick out. It shouldn't be any problem. That is not the way it is. It's just not. This is a perfect example where searchers can be in the area, and if you're just 10 feet one way or 10 feet the other way, you could just totally miss remains, and a search can be unsuccessful. Not to mention if animals are involved, if they come across the body and do what animals do. It's sad, I don't know if I'm supposed to hope it's Christina or it's not. If it's a human, some family out there, is going to be in pain if they can identify the remains. But for the rest of us, I think the most important part is, what can we learn from this? what can we learn about the next search, the next missing persons case, the next time that some guy is convicted of a missing person, of causing a person to disappear, but there's no body? What can we learn from these cases that eventually do get solved? That's what I always try to keep in mind when something like this Christina Morris case comes up. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it. I know as probably as much as all of you do, maybe even less because I'm off doing my own program. But that's what I get out of it. And I thank Andrea for alerting me to that this was going on in Texas. And maybe if you didn't know about it, now you can go and read up on it. And I'm sure you're going to find out more information than I've detailed in this, brief, conversation about it. So, but we'll see. Like I said, nothing is confirmed at this moment. Once again, anybody has any questions about anything? I think I did. Her abduction is on video. Within 30 seconds, she was gone. Good example of keeping your head on a swivel. There's my saying, Andrea. Yes, women especially. You have to keep your heads on swivels. You need to be looking around. I realize you want to look at your phone. I realize you want to do this. I realize you want to do that. Do not do it. If you're leaving a building, do not do that until you get into your car and you lock the doors. All right, you must be aware of your surroundings. Men too, but women especially. And her abduction, like you said, Andrea, you seem to know a little bit more about it than I do, and that's great. That's spectacular. Within 30 seconds, she was gone. That's how quick it can happen. 30 seconds. Absolutely. There was that movie Gone in 60 Seconds, which was about stealing cars. To kidnap people takes even less time than that. So, and Lisa, watch your kids. Exactly. Watch your kids, watch yourself, get everybody in the car, and then you can look at your phone, then you can do it. But until that point, you got to be looking around, see anybody suspicious characters, anybody hanging out near your car, anybody that maybe followed you in and is now following you out. That's what you have to do. That's just the way it is. No matter if you're in a big city or a small town, never take your safety for granted. You know what? I think Jeremiah had asked me a question. Let's see if I can find it here for a moment. Hold on just one. He asked me a question and over in the group, and I want to make sure that I get it right because I think if it's coming from Jeremiah, it has to be a good one. Jeremiah asks me, when you get tired and frustrated, what keeps you going? This is a question, once again, this came in from the Unfound group. Jeremiah asked me, what keeps me going when I get tired and frustrated? I have to tell you this. And I don't mind saying this at all. Doing Unfound for the last year and a half is easily the most enriching thing I've ever done in my life. Easily. It's not even close. Now, granted, maybe it's easy for me to say that because I'm not married, I don't have kids. Raising kids, seeing them grow up can be very enriching. I've not had any of that stuff happen in my life. I'm a bachelor at 47. So in my world, doing Unfound, meeting the people that I have, trying to help them in the ways that I can, is the most enriching thing, and dare I say it, probably the most rewarding thing, and probably the most successful thing that I've done in my 47 and a half years. So I don't get tired and frustrated doing that. I get tired and frustrated. I get tired and frustrated about other things in my life. Like when I was just to be anecdotal, just trying to get from the disc golf place home tonight to get a shower and everything, people were driving me nuts. That gets me tired and frustrated. doing Unfound does not get me tired and frustrated. I love being busy with everything that I do with this program. I mean that. I mean it. And I have to say, I'm that type of person. I've had jobs where it was, well, you work this long and you get 2 weeks off a year and then you get this. And I've never been like that. That doesn't seem to be, it's just not me. I know people do it. They love it. They live for their weekends and they like their jobs, but they love their weekends and love getting the time off, this vacation, earn this vacation and all of these things. I've done that. And for me personally, it wasn't that rewarding. It just wasn't. I always aspire to have work that is enriching and something that I didn't mind doing 7 days a week. That's always what I know. That sounds really, really crazy. You wanted to have a job that you wanted to work 7 days a week? Yes. Yes. And where I'm working for myself, and it's the type of thing that doesn't get me tired and frustrated. That's what I've always aspired to. And Unfound is that. It is. Greg says, you should drive on LA freeways. Greg, I have a lot of experience driving on LA freeways. I'll have you know, when I lived in Las Vegas, I had to go down there for work. I was from San Diego the whole way up to Oxnard. I was in Glendale. I was in Santa Ana, Orange County, you name it. I used to have a girlfriend that lived in LA. She lived in Studio City. I've been all over that area, and really, LA traffic did not get to me. Florida traffic gets to me. Las Vegas traffic never got to me. Florida traffic will drive me nuts. I don't know why. I don't know what the difference is, but I have a lot of experience, Greg, driving in LA. Yeah, so I do feel your pain. I guess I do. But I really never minded it that much in LA. I'll be honest. It never was what there were other, let's just put it this way. There are other places that I've driven in the United States that's worse. But, so there you go. Christina, Edward needs a TV show where he accesses professionals, find missing persons, drone pilots, search for them, sort of like the Cold Justice show. I'm ready to do any, I've had a couple conversations with TV producers, Christina, last year, at the end of last year. I'm open to anything, fiction, nonfiction, as long as I have a little bit of control and say in what's going to happen, and it's realistic and it's genuine and it's honest, absolutely. But I'm not going to take part in anything that is so fictitious that it is not a reflection of reality. But I appreciate that. Andrea asked, do your parents, siblings, close friends understand your passion for this line of work? I have a very close relationship with my parents. In fact, I would say that I talk to my father almost every day. And I haven't lived near them since 1998. Although I have brothers and sisters to my parents, I'm their only child. Long story that I'm not going to get into right now. And I think, for at least a little bit, they think I'm crazy. I think a little bit, because, no, it's just what I do. And this is why I've always said that this program that I do is a reflection of me. And that's what I tell anybody who has ever, contacted me about starting a podcast, my beliefs, my theories, how I feel about it. I simply tell them, you have to do a program that is a reflection of you. Whatever you think about yourself, whether you think your strength is speaking or interviewing or being funny or this or that or whatever else you think you are as a person, that's the kind of program that you should do. Because otherwise, if you're just trying to go with a fad or doing what somebody else is doing, that's going to get old very fast. No matter how many listeners you get, no matter how many downloads you have, no matter how much money you make, at some point you're going to get burned out. Whereas Unfound is an expression of me because I like to talk to people. I like to ask people questions. I like to find out things. And I like to pass that knowledge on to people. All right. This is not an opinion show or a theory show. It's me talking to the people who I think know the most, them talking, us having a good rapport, and then all of you listening to what these people have to say, and you making decisions for yourselves because you're all intelligent people and you don't need opinions and things stuffed down your throat. Okay? So Unfound is a reflection of me. And so I don't get tired and frustrated doing it, even though I'm busy. But do my parents understand? I think maybe they're a little surprised by my passion. Missing people, that's really strange, Ed. But I think that if my parents, my siblings, my close friends really analyze it, they know how much mysteries and things are compelling to me. They know how much I like to ask questions of people and things. So maybe that part of it's not so crazy. But maybe the working 7 days a week like I do, they probably think that's crazy. And I don't know how other podcasters work. I don't know what their schedules are. All I know is what I have to do to make Unfound work. And that means I work on the program every day. Maybe not 8 hours, maybe not 10 hours, maybe just 5 hours or 4 hours, 3 hours. But every day I'm doing something regarding the program, whether it's on the phone, whether it's, getting Friday's episode ready, working on a book, working on playing cards, working on designing shirts, talking to prospective guests, talking to Emily, who helps me find people to talk to, talking to the woman who, a longtime friend of mine, who is my business manager liaison between myself and some of these other things we're trying to do with TV and Sirius XM. There's always something going on with Unfound in my life every day. So there you go. Let's move on to another piece of news. And this is kind of an interesting one. This is out of Gunnison, Colorado. I've actually been there on a vacation once, way back in like 1985 or 86. The disappearance, and then they did find him, but he disappeared. Jacob Millison disappeared in Gunnison, Colorado, May 2015. Well, just recently, I should say in 2017's remains were found, and his mother and his sister have been charged with his murder. I don't know if you saw this story. This is within the last few days that this all popped up. But once again, he disappeared in May 2015. His remains were found in 2017. And his mother and sister are charged with his murder. They believe, the authorities believe, that they murdered him over family ranch land, and money. Yeah, Stephanie. Yes. Yeah, family killing family. Exactly, Stephanie. It's one of those situations where, as everybody knows, a large majority of the crimes committed in the world are committed by men. That's just the way it is. So when you come across a mother and a sister killing a son/brother, that's rare upon rare upon rare. And Christina says that story has it all: drugs, jealousy, family, money. Christina, you're right. You're right. And I would urge anybody that wants to read more about it, please do a search for Jacob Millison, Millison, and you will find it. It is a disturbing story. It's a sad story. But like I've said, what can we learn from that story? What we learn is that you can never rule anybody out. I think that probably when he disappeared in 2015, probably the public around there didn't suspect his mother or his sister at all. Well, they've been charged with his murder. We can never rule anybody out. That is for sure. What is the heck wrong with some people? I don't know, Andrea, but money and power And of course, relationships, they can really make people do some things that they normally wouldn't do. And you'd think that the bond between a mother and her son, brothers and sisters, would be strong enough to overcome that. But hey, we all have a story maybe in our family or in a family we know about somebody dies and then the family starts going nuts trying to get the money and the inheritance. That's happening every day all over the world. And it's horrible. People who were friends and family getting together with for Christmas and Thanksgiving, suddenly they're at each other's throats, over some inheritance. It happens. And with the history of Christina says, and with his history of drug use, it's kind of amazing that the case was even investigated as anything other than someone who left on their own. True. I agree with you, Christina. When drugs are involved in some cases, it's like police suddenly think they have an out to not do anything. I agree. So I urge you all to check that case out. Jacob Millison, who disappeared from Gunnison, Colorado in May 2015. His remains were found in 2017. And then recently his mother and sister have been charged with his murder. And somebody, Barbara, I guess Barbara, are you in the group tonight? I'm sorry if I saw you got in here and I missed you. I deeply apologize on that. But Barbara asked me if I've heard of the disappearance of David Gibson, Gipson Smith. Barbara, if you are in the group, I am familiar with that case. Hi, there you are. Barbara, hi. Hi, Barbara. Okay, there you are. I want to answer your question that you posted in the group. I am familiar with that case. And in fact, early on, somebody representing the family contacted me. And I told them that I would happily do their case, but for me, I like to give like a 6-month window, meaning if a disappearance happens, I need to give it time for the authorities to do what they're going to do, because being on Unfound can be a little laborious for the guests. We do a lot of talking and everything before they get on the program. And anybody, probably, if any of my guests are in here, Lisa, Stormy is in here. A few others I know are people who have been guests on Unfound. They can tell you that we do a lot of talking and emailing and going back and forth before we ever conduct an interview. I think that is the proper way to do it. Being on Unfound can be very time intensive for the guests. And so when it is a new disappearance, my attitude is that at that point, the best use of that family's time is to probably not talk to me, because it is labor intensive. They should be out with local media. Remember, Unfound is an international show. Whereas in those first months, a family should be concentrating on local media, organizing searches and everything else. And talking to me as many hours as we do takes away from that. Now, at some point, when maybe the local media starts moving on to other things and searches have been done, and then I am absolutely ready to come in and maybe build interest again. Or as many times on Unfound, you hear things on my program you're not going to hear anywhere else. Maybe we can start looking at some different angles that haven't been looked at so far. Because essentially Unfound is a cold case program. It is not a breaking news program. It's a cold case program. So, but to answer your question, Barbara, somebody contacted me early on. I told them what I just said to all of you. And I told them if it gets to be more late January, February of 2018, that I am absolutely open to talking to them. And then I'm going to say back in January, I had an email back and forth with David's father, I believe it was. I have to go check my notes. I believe it was his father. And then I've tried contacting him since then, and he's not responded. I have contacted a friend of the family, and we've had a little back and forth. So I'm not sure what is going on there. But when they're ready to talk, then I'm ready to talk. I say that to anybody. It just, when it's such a new case, it's hard for me to conduct things the way I usually conduct them for the show. Because as many of you, once again, guests know, in those first months, you know how crazy things, your emotions are all over the map. You're getting contact from all sort of people who know things. And then the last thing you need is a person like me who has an international show coming in needing your time. And when I say time, I'm going to say I corresponded with the guest on average, probably 4 to 5 hours before we ever even do an interview. And then, as you know, the interviews can go 2 hours. That's a lot of time. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of time, like 7 hours or something, but being the way that I could just do the program, I like to just, get some space in there. And I like the family to have time to do what they need to do locally. That's where the most impact they're going to have. And then at some point, I'm ready to talk. We can go over everything that they've done. And as Stormy knows, as some of these other people know, I like to work behind the scenes with them, not just with the interview, but then say, well, here's what I've learned from all these other cases. Maybe you haven't done this yet. Maybe you should think about doing this. Have you thought about this? And so I can come in and kind of when things get a little bit stalled a little bit, they can come on Unfound. We can start brainstorming some other things that they can be doing. And some of those things I even do myself, as, for example, Stormy knows with her brother Brandon. So, Barbara, I have heard of David. I'm ready to talk to the family anytime they're ready. I've contacted them. I've contacted this friend of theirs who is, I guess, helping them with things, with media things. I just haven't, heard back from them. But I'm ready. I'm always ready to talk to anybody. Stormy says, Ed looks at all aspects and asks hard questions. I really enjoyed talking through my brother's case with him. He helped me see different perspectives, still does. Stormy, that's very nice. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. So it's just Unfound is just not a breaking news program. It just takes a little while for everything to come together. Generally, the average is about 3 weeks for an episode to come together. And in fact, we haven't even got to this week's case yet, Tiffany Daniels. Tiffany Daniels is a case that I've been working on since last summer. And I've gotten to know her mother, Cindy, who is the guest for this episode, very well. And she finally came to me and said, Ed, I'm ready to do it now. I said, great. And we're coordinating the episode, of course, comes out on Friday, which is the 9th. And Tiffany's birthday is on March 11th. And Cindy wanted to have that all together. I said, great, let's do it. So this Friday is the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. And this is another situation with Cindy. As you can imagine, being that I've been talking to her since last summer, I've probably spent 15 hours on the phone with her. Probably 15 hours on the phone, probably including the interview, talking to her about the case, talking over some possibilities and things she can be doing and things. So that's just what goes on. This is why I do this program. I love to tell you this behind the scenes stuff. So in Tiffany's case, we're just try to be as thorough as possible. And you are going to hear, once again, we might as well just get to it right now, being that I brought it up. This week's case is the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. She disappeared on August 12th, 2013. And she disappeared from Pensacola, Florida. This is a case that was a disappeared case. In fact, if you're in the group, the Unfound podcast discussion group, you know that I linked to a place where you can watch that episode if you can get through the ads that are on the page. If you have an ad blocker, then there's no problem. Disappeared. This is another circumstance. And, all of you, if you've been listening to the program for a while, you know what my attitude is about disappeared. I think that it provides a valuable service. The problem is they are limited by time. In addition, these are people who are not used to covering missing persons cases as much as I am. And even to give a shout out to another program, Disappeared is not used to covering missing person cases as much as Marissa is over at The Vanished. We do this every week. 52 cases a year. I've never missed a Friday since October of 2016. I've never missed a Friday. So we're just better at it because we have more experience doing it. And a podcast is not limited by time. Having said that, there have been some egregious mistakes that Disappeared has made. The one that comes to my mind is the April Pitzer case, where I interviewed her mother, Gloria Denton, who's, of course, a good friend of mine now. They made huge mistakes on that particular episode. Huge. Well, in Tiffany's case, I guess her episode came out in 2016. There have been some developments since then that we talk about in the interview. But probably the biggest deal about the Disappeared episode is it completely left out somebody who should be considered a person of interest in her disappearance. The coincidental thing is that it was during the filming of that episode up in the Panhandle of Florida that Cindy, her mother, found out that this other person could possibly be a suspect. So it popped up while they were filming the episode. If you can imagine that. That happened. And you're going to hear about it in this interview that I do for her. It's going to be a long episode. I think the episode is going to be over 2 hours. It's just what we do. We're of course going to cover, all of the area that Disappeared did. But once again, more thorough. Going to be talking about, a particular sighting, alleged sighting of Tiffany 4 months after she disappeared. We're going deeper into the timeline and some of these people who were around her at the time, what was going on in her life, as we all do with all cases. But I think, once again, you're going to see a contrast between what Disappeared did for Tiffany's disappearance and what Cindy and I do for Tiffany's disappearance. And I have to tell you, I'm still not sure what happened. There are a lot of different possibilities. It could be that a roommate had something to do with it. It could be this new person of interest had something to do with it. We're going to talk about some facts about him that are interesting. She might have been sex trafficked. It's very possible. There's also the possibility that she was going somewhere to sell some of her art and something happened. In addition, she was spending a lot of time on Craigslist trying to find roommates besides the roommate that she already had. And in my opinion, going to Craigslist to find roommates is not a good choice, especially if you're a woman. And did she run into somebody who lured her somewhere under the guise of wanting to be a roommate? Something happened. So we're going to have to think about all of those different possibilities. This is not something where it's only one or two possibilities. There are many. This is when a victim, a missing person, knows a lot of people, has a lot of things going on. She is a woman who, might have had some different guys interested in her, although her boyfriend had moved to Texas. Just a lot of different possibilities. And so I'll be interested. Like I've said, all I do is present the facts. I talk to her mother. We flesh everything out that needs to be known. And then you get to make the decision for yourself. And that's why I started doing the polling that I do. Because I like to hear your opinions. And I think that the guests can then look at that poll and see what the public really thinks. And can get some good feedback on the information that we talk about. The episode is called Night at the Beach. And in the my little intro, I talk a little bit about me living at the beach and what it's like to be out there at night. And then I start talking about, wonder what was going through Tiffany's mind when she is at the beach, because that's where her car was found eventually a week later, out at the beach. And the big development, probably since Disappeared did the program, is that Cindy finally got to look inside the car. It's been 4.5 years. She didn't get to do that until recently. The police allowed her to do that. And seeing what was inside the car has actually caused her to kind of reformulate what she thinks happened. And she talks about that. So it's a great interview. Cindy did a fantastic job. She has become a good friend of mine. In fact, I talked to her shortly before I came on the air tonight. So it's a long episode. It's a long interview. But as always, it's information packed. I think you get a lot of information per minute with Unfound, and that's what I try to do. So that's all I really have for tonight. We're going at 55 minutes. I've been talking. I thank you for the questions. I thank you for the compliments. I thank you to everybody who has tuned in tonight, both some previous guests like Lisa and Stormy, for example, who tuned in tonight, and all of you, the listeners. I'm going to tell you again, this is always my favorite time of the week, being able to communicate with you, take your questions, talk back and forth. I love it every week. But if there's nothing else, no more questions, I'm going to leave you for tonight. And you will hear me on Friday. The episode, The Disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. The episode is called Night at the Beach. And then after that, we'll see, I guess, next Wednesday, if something else doesn't happen. We've got a newsletter to get out, I guess, sometime next week if you're on the list. But what do? We talked about the Unfound shirts, talked about the new Mac laptop, we talked about the newsletter, we talked about Volume 3, Patreon, PayPal, Amazon, playing cards. We talked about the Christina Morris case. We talked about Jacob Millison, and then we talked about the Disappearance of Tiffany Daniels, which is this week's episode. Good night to all of you. I thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for giving me a little piece of your evening. And you'll be hearing me very soon. Good night.